Welcome. My name is James Boyd. I'm the Director of Programming with the Oregon Bach Festival. It's my sincere pleasure to welcome you all today and to thank you for coming. We are guests today in this lovely facility, and so I would like to start by thanking our friends at the Many Nations Longhouse, especially Katie Staten and the staff for hosting us. Thank you so much. The Hinkle Distinguished Lecture is an annual event hosted by the Bach Festival, and this year we are grateful to have with us for a 3-day residency our guest speaker, Jerod Impichchaachaaha Tate. He is a composer and pianist who expresses his native culture in symphonic music, ballet, and opera. He is a citizen of the Chickasaw Nation in Oklahoma, a 2002 Chickasaw Hall of Fame inductee, and a 2022 Distinguished Alumni Award recipient from the Cleveland Institute of Music. In 2021, he was appointed a cultural ambassador for the U.S. State Department, and in 2025, he won the Wise Heinrichson Award in Music from the American Academy of Arts and Letters. So quite a distinguished gentleman, quite a distinguished career. We are featuring Jerod's works on 3 programs the next 3 evenings, so I hope you will join us for each of those. Tonight, a string quartet as part of our Chamber Music Northwest concert in Bell Hall, 7:30, don't miss it. Tomorrow, a world premiere of Jerod's new work, Friendship Songs, with Room Full of Teeth at the Soaring Theater down at the Holt Center. And then closing out an absolutely monumental concert featuring Jerod's American Indian Symphony paired with Dvorak New World. That'll be at the Holt Center Silva Concert Hall, and it is an absolutely amazing work, which I'm sure you'll learn about in a bit. So, with that, will you please join me in welcoming Jerod, our 2026 Hinkle Distinguished Lecturer. Thank you, Jerod.
Yeah. Thank you. Chukma, Hachin Chukma Tahatak, Chickashaw Okano Sahol Shifo, Jerod, Talo Ikpi, Impichchaachaaha Tate. Chickashaw Saya, Chickashaw Inki Saya. Impichchaachaaha Chokat Micha Shawi Iksaish Town Chololi, Talo Ikbili, Hashlaka Sayopa, Chukmashki, Yakoke. Hi everyone, my name is Jerod Impichchaachaaha Tate, and I'm a citizen of the Chickasaw Nation in Oklahoma. And I spring forth from the House of High Corn Crib, that's Impichchaachaaha, and my clan is Shawi Iksa, which is the Raccoon Clan. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about music today, because that's what I do, is music. And so I get really kind of excited, so bear with me while I kind of stumble over my own excitement, because it's such a privilege to be able to talk about music and art and share this with people around the world. And so I'm just really, really thrilled to be here, and this is so much fun. While I'm doing presentation and stuff, I really do encourage spontaneous questions. If something pops in your head, please raise your hand and ask, and we can riff on that, and that's great. And there's never a bad question. Please just be like on the, just be honest and off the cuff and everything. So we'll just have a good dialogue if you want to. So that's great. But a little bit about myself. My father, Charles, is Chickasaw from Oklahoma. And Dad was born and raised in Ardmore. And my dad graduated with his Juris Doctor from the University of Oklahoma. And so professionally, he's a tribal lawyer and judge and special district judge. And very importantly, my dad is the author of our current Chickasaw Constitution. And then also, my dad is a phenomenally trained classical pianist and baritone. So I feel quite eclipsed by my father. He is quite a historic figure. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So this far away, it's really loud. Okay, there we go. Thank you. I'm getting instructions. Thanks. Anyways, but my father started me on the piano, and yes. Is it? Should I just go ahead and go without the microphone? Is that okay? Okay, I have a loud voice, so I think I'll be okay. So just let me know if you can't hear me okay. But my father started me on the piano when I was 8 years old. And after about 3 months of lessons, I had announced to my family that I was to be a concert pianist. So I was in like Flynn, so I'm really grateful for my dad starting me with that. And so on my father's side, I just grew up with a great knowledge of Indian history, North American Indian history, law, and politics. and then also and culture. And so I was just around lots of tribes, around a lot of political meetings with my dad, and just all kinds of events in Oklahoma and then around the country eventually. And so my dad just gave me a really, really wonderful and great background. And to this day, my dad's 86, and he and my stepmom just went on a cruise, which was really, really great. And so he's really active, but he's my best bud. We speak tribal politics and opera in the same language, and so I'm really grateful for him. So my mother, Patricia, was Manx Irish, and so I am Manx and Chickasaw. And my mother was a professional choreographer and dancer. And she also went to the University of Oklahoma. And my mom studied with some historic figures. So we have 5 really famous Indian ballerinas from Oklahoma. One of them, Maria Tallchief, is like the most famous. She married Balanchine and was with Balanchine and was like the first America's premier ballerina. And so she made history doing that. But Yvonne Shoto was one of those dancers as well. My mother was one of her first students at the University of Oklahoma. And then when Louis Ballard premiered the Four Moons Ballet back in 1967, my parents were present for that with Yvonne, and Marjorie Tallchief was in that, and I was just a year away from being born, so that's pretty cool. But but actually, I've got a friend of mine, Karen Hahn. We both went to high school in Laramie, Wyoming. And Karen knew my mother, so we haven't seen each other in 40 years, so I'm really glad that Karen came here today. Thanks for being here, really appreciate it. So anyway, it's just so cool how life works out. So I'm going to talk to you about being a Chickasaw classical composer, and that's the question I get the most. So when I started composing, I decided to dedicate my focus to the development of American Indian symphonic composition, very inspired by our composer Louis Ballard, who was Cherokee and Quapaw, our first symphonic composer in Indian country. And so the biggest question I'm asked all the time is, what is a Chickasaw classical composer? And that's a great question. And so I'd like to address that today and kind of talk you through some different things. And so before I get into music, I'd like to use a reference of fine art, of visual art. Okay, so, and the reason is because lots of people have seen art, it's posted everywhere. You look up there, look up here. So we're around art all the time, and it's a really easy one to kind of do comparisons to. But also, one thing that's really important is that, there's the Santa Fe Indian Market that happens every year, and people fly in literally from all over the world to go and find the hottest, newest native art. And so American Indians are very, very modern in artistic expression. I mean, if you think about like our filmmaker, Sterling Harjo, is a good friend of mine. He did Reservation Dogs. He's expressing his Muskogean identity in a medium of film that actually is not aboriginal to any culture in the world. That's a more current human invention that everybody wants to do film. It's like, that's like the pinnacle expression. We have we had a three-time poet laureate, Joy Harjo, who's also Muskogee from Oklahoma, a good friend of mine, and she expresses her Muskogean identity in writing. And so if you think about that, she is writing books which are not aboriginal to our culture, and she's writing in English, right? So all of these tools that come from a different part of the world, we've appropriated and taken and made it our own, and that's what cultures have been doing forever, and so we're participating in that, and so that's what I do. And so I'd like to talk to you about visual art a little bit. So this is I'm going to show you some art by some other Chickasaw colleagues of mine. This is a piece of art by a man named Brent Greenwood, who is Chickasaw and Oto. So he comes from both a southeastern tribe and a plains tribe. Chickasaws are originally from the northern part of Mississippi. We're called a woodlands tribe, and so we're part of a larger Muskogean culture that includes the Choctaws, Chickasaws, Seminoles, Creeks, and Cherokees. And so that's what Brent is a part of as well. And so like I'm wearing, like this is like this spider pendant I'm wearing is a very important part of our history. This is an old petroglyph. And so we also don gorgets like this right here, and then we also have, our percussion is turtle rattles, and I'll sing that for you here in just a little bit. And so here Brent's got, what he's doing is he's taking cultural icons and he's abstracting them into fine art. And so let's see here, yeah, there we go. That's the first one. And so that little squiggly line right there is actually one of our old water designs. And so what Brent has done is he's taken a Chickasaw person who's a stomp dancer and he's singing. He's got the turtle rattle, he's got the gorget, but what he's done is he's modernized it in a way that he's taken the water symbol and he's made it into music. So he's singing the water. It's really, really beautiful how he's transformed that. And so, but then there's also something, what about his face do you see that's different? Yeah, there's no facial features. And so that's a style of his that he's adopted, and I'll show you another example of that in just a second. But so here he is just modernizing everything. Now this was a poster that was made for the Chickasaw Chamber Music Festival that I founded back in the day. And so he made all the music symbols, he puts all that stuff. And of course, everybody's got to put a piano. I don't know why they always have to put a keyboard. It's like in the 80s, we had like keyboard ties that were totally cheesy. And so anyway, so he had to put a little keyboard on there. And so he also took some of my manuscript and put that up there. And he thought it looked like dragonflies. And so he has the dragonflies flying out of the music. And so it's really cool. But this is just a great example of a modern native artist abstracting our own culture. And that's what we do. It's like as humans, what makes us so special is that we abstract our world and we reinvent it. We do this all the time in technology, in the arts, in language, in sociology, everything. We're constantly reworking our world, and that's what makes us beautiful and brilliant, and that's why we're humans. So this is I just love showing that. It's really beautiful. So this is another piece by Dustin Mater. He's a cousin of mine. And so he has taken just an old, this is like our old drawing. So this is an old Chickasaw singer. Actually, it's supposed to be me, which I'm really grateful for. And he calls it the musician. And so he's got him with his turtle rattle, and he's got the old tattoos and everything that we had back in the day. But the medium is what's so different. This is called etching, is that right? So you've got a black pasty thing over a medium in the background, and you sketch that out. That's not Aboriginal to our people at all. But he took that medium and did that. And then also he likes to add gold leaf plate to some of his stuff. So he just made it awesome. And so I just think about our ancestors, 5,000 years ago, they'd probably be like, oh, that's pretty cool. Or some might be like, you know what, that's not traditional. I don't think I like that. But that's what art does, is it makes us discuss, those types of things. And every culture has those discussions of, thumbs up, thumbs down, in between, that kind of thing. So, okay, so this is another piece by Brent that I absolutely love too. This is a piece called Bringing Up the Sun. And so when we stomp dance, we dance around a fire in a circle. And so he's stoking the fire, he's bringing up the sun. But look what he's done to the water motif. So first he made it into music, right? And now he's turned the water into fire. So this is him abstracting our culture in just beautiful, beautiful ways. And then those are old petroglyphs of our sun and moon. And he's got that. I just love this. This is incredible. I went to Santa Fe Indian Market and bought my first piece of art from Brent, and it was that. And that's in my office, and now it's a really famous print, and I'm really excited about that. So I own that piece of art. But so I'm really, really proud of that. So this is another piece I love that Dustin did, and this is our deer. So deer is a really important part of our culture as well. And so he's done that whole, he's painted the deer faces in like how we would do our faces back in the day. And of course they don't have eyes, and it's during a blood moon and they're just running through the forest. I think that's gorgeous. I think it's absolutely stunning. But that's a triptych that he hung several years back. So that's really neat. And this is another Brent Greenwood that I just love. This is his Oto coming out for his Plains expression. And so a part of the old Plains style for women's clothing is elk teeth. And so that was in their dresses, and really, really beautiful. And he's got 3 kind of periods of dress for women, Oto women. And so this is like the older style, the older buckskin style. And this is more like the pioneering time where we adapted cotton and those types of patterns and the finger woven belts into our culture. And that's actually all over Indian country. That style is everywhere, which is cool. And then this is a much more modern style of dress, and I like it because it's got a kid. I like kids. So I'm really on the sleeve about this. My son is 12, and I'm really proud of him, and I love being his dad, and so I love artwork that has kids, and I like it when kids come to concerts and they make noise. I think it's really cool. So anyway, but if you notice that Brent's got the style again with the face, and so for Plains people, their dolls traditionally don't have actual facial features. They're blank. And so to me, it seems like that was a really big influence on some of his artwork with that. So, and then here is a piece by our language department chair, Locos, Joshua Henson. And he is literally the man who has saved our language and created all of our language learning programs. So I am now an adult learner of the language, which I'm really proud of. My son speaks more Chickasaw than I did when I was a kid, and he's responsible for this. But he likes to do the really old school. This is like what our old petroglyphs really look like. And he just put it in this, a guy just, doing the boat. But something that's really, really cool about this is if you notice, he's got them like all 2-dimensional, right? What art from another part of the world does that remind you of, this kind of? Right, like Egyptian hieroglyphics, that kind of thing. That he's adapting, right? So he's influenced by different things. If anybody knows the ballet Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun that was choreographed by Nijinsky, Nureyev was dancing like that. He had him like in a 2D ballet. It was a really interesting thing. It reminds me of that. So I think about those influences. And of course, I know about that because my mother was a ballet dancer. So I'm really fortunate to be able to draw those comparisons. But anyway, so these are like some of our clans, like Garfish clan is one of our clans, and Gars right here. If any of you know what a garfish is, they're a traditional animal that we would eat and use the teeth for medicine. And garfish are also, they're massive. They're like 7 feet long, and they look like dinosaurs that are going to kill you. They're snuggly. People have garfish in their little lakes in their backyards, and they're like pet dogs. They're really, really cool, and they're really friendly. So with that in mind, I'd like to actually sing you our traditional garfish dance song. So we've got lots of songs about animals, and this is a song that I learned from my cousin Bynum that is a very special song to me. So, yo lene, yo lene, yo lene, yo lene, you oh, you oh, you oh, hey! Way I only, way I only, hey I only, way I only, I only, way I only, I only, way I only, only, way I only, way I only, hey, way I only, hey, way I only, you oh, you oh, you oh. Hey! Way I only, 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 hey, way I only, hey, way I only, you oh, you oh, you oh, hey, yo lene, yo lene, yo lene, yo lene, you oh, you oh, you oh, hey. All right. Thank you. All right, so what is a Chickasaw classical composer? Well, okay, does anybody recognize this person? Okay, so what is Tchaikovsky really famous for? Like, okay, 1812 Overture, and yes, the Nutcracker ballets that we all see every single year. And my son has danced in that 5 years in a row now, which is really great. Tchaikovsky is his favorite composer, and so I'm very proud of that. So this is Tchaikovsky's music. Okay, Tchaikovsky is a Russian composer. You can't get any more Russian than that. That is amazing. And so very proudly, he wears his ethnicity on his sleeve in his compositions. So what's Russian about that piece? What do we hear like that's super Russian? Anybody? Yeah? Okay, the melody, bum, 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 bum. That's so Russian, it's ridiculous. And then also, what is the percussion doing? What's that feel? It's marching, it's warlike, isn't it? He was going through a lot of wartime, and so that's like very representative of what was going on in his life, and there's a lot of that going on. So yeah, so that Slavic melody, and then like the percussion, that's Russian, and it's symphonic. So, listen, I'm baiting you with that. Okay, so our next composer, does anybody recognize Debussy? I love Debussy, and so here is some of Debussy's music. That's awesome. Does anybody recognize that work? Can you name it? La Mer, yes, that's right. Well, La Mer means the sea. I think that sounds like a C. I think that's really, really accurate. And of course, at the same time that he wrote this piece, this painting came out that was halfway across the world in Japan. And it's been paired with this because of the impressionistic nature. But look at that. So that sounds like oceanic music to me. In fact, I think when the critics were there, somebody ran out because he said he felt seasick. It was like, isn't that funny? But you know, actually, that type of drama is really good for publicity. It's really good marketing. And so, so what about that orchestration sounds like the ocean? The dynamics? Okay, so like swelling dynamics. Any instruments that you're hearing? Yes. Right, exactly. It sounds like waves. How about the percussion? You hear all the cymbals splashing. It's so awesome. It's just so obviously water music. It's really great. And then, of course, that melody, ba da 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 dee dee doo. That's totally French melody. That's like, it's just like Debussy has so much French melody in his music. It's ridiculous. So you can't be any more French than Debussy. So that's for sure. Okay, so then this is another composer that I absolutely love named Chinnery Ung, who's Cambodian. Oh, I love that. It's so colorful. Okay, what instruments do we hear in that piece? Gamelan. Gamelan? What? Violin. Okay. What else? Bells. Okay, great. Anything else striking you? What's that? You're hearing percussion a little bit? Yeah, okay. Okay, so I love this because he's Cambodian and there's not one Cambodian instrument in that piece. And it sounds entirely Cambodian. So the violin that you hear is actually a cello, very high-pitched cello, right? And the gamelan that you're hearing is a combination of like piano and chimes playing together. It's so that, isn't that cool? Oh my gosh, it's so incredible. So it's for percussion, piano, and cello is his piece. Yeah, and so he plays traditional, you know, Cambodian marimba. So he's got all those sounds, but he's using Western instruments entirely. So our classical instruments are pretty awesome. So I just love that. His music is so colorful. When I first heard Chinnery Ung's music in graduate school, I just was absolutely blown away. It's the first time I actually heard Daphnis and Chloe also was in college of Ravel, and that just absolutely transformed me. So here we go. So I think you know this guy by now. And so now remember the Garfish dance song that I sang you. Yo lene, yo lene, yo lene. Sorry.
At the end of the spoken, the sung, the dreamed into life and the fire, that is when we are new and begin. The clouds rise up. The creative life has spoken through all the nights and fires, all along the sacred forest and river and stone with its own words. The telling could begin, and once it begins, it may continue. One seed, one life, one thing, one word growing after another.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting relic. Okay. All right, there you go. Okay, so that is a piece that I composed a little while back. It's part of a larger work called Loak Shopola. And so this particular scene, you see some costumes here, and I'll give you the breakdown and the poetry that's in this. But when I was asked by the American Composers Forum to write a new piece and work with my own tribe on this, and so I wanted to write a work that was representative of different aspects of Chickasaw history and culture. And so the Garfish Dance song is a really, really important song to me, and I just makes me feel very romantic and very strong. And so I was imagining our tribal leader, our Minko, calling the clan leaders together in an ancient meeting, just an important meeting. And so that's him calling out to the clan leaders. And so our Chickasaw textile artist, Margaret Wheeler, reconstructed our traditional outfits from a couple thousand years ago. And so in the performance, it's like a Lion King thing where everybody just like walks slowly through the audience and appears during their clan feature or during the piece. The opening you just heard is the Minko calling them out, but that's our tribal members in traditional regalia doing that. So it's like a slow motion fashion runway show. So it's like, and it's really, really cool when that happens, and it's really fun to bring my buddies from the tribe in and do performances like that in traditional regalia. We just performed this in Carnegie Hall last year, and so that was really, really cool and just a historic, important event for our tribe. So, but anyway, so that, and then the poetry is poetry by our Chickasaw author, Linda Hogan, who is a Pulitzer finalist, and so she wrote poetry about the clan leaders, and so that was the theatric production that we were able to put together. So that gives you an idea of the kind of music that I write. And so I like to take our melodies and orchestrate them and do that kind of thing. And so that's what I do. And I'm going to play you some more. And so I got to say, I'm thinking about this because I haven't seen Karen for 40 years, and she knew me as a kid. And so I'm just wondering if like this matches. I was a very gregarious and outspoken guy when I was a kid. And so she's probably like, yeah, that sounds like him. It's a little overbearing and loud. So, yes, you have a question?
That piece you played, to my ears, reminded like there's a dissonance in the voices that sounded like Ellington to me, like
Oh, Duke Ellington?
to his culture.
Yeah.
Like that felt like the way you speak to your culture.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, okay, so first of all, that's a really cool observation. And one thing I like to kind of emphasize is that ancient cultures from around the world and past cultures have a lot of similarities in a lot of different ways. Like if you trace ancient cultures back, there's pentatonic and diatonic scales everywhere. And so there's always going to be something that sounds familiar. One thing that is also really important to note is that in our song, so the song that I was singing you was actually just my solo version, but it's actually a call and response piece. So when I'm singing, way I only, way I only, that's between the lead singer and the group. So the community responds, way I only, way I only, I only, way I only. And so there's that call and response. And a lot of people will make similar comparisons to African American music with the call and response that's going on. But one thing that's really important to note is that historically, so we're Southeastern tribes, and Africans moved in and we mingled. And so we were sharing culture way back in the day. And so there are absolutely huge similarities between Southeastern American Indian stomp dancing and the blues. It's all there. It's all in the fabric, and it's really, really cool when you do deep dives of that. And there's lots of African American and American Indian musicians who are like totally on the same page about that. It's all, and also the Irish reels were a very big part of that as well. So that stuff is there. So your comparisons that you're hearing probably are there for a reason, is what I would say, you know. But also just all modern composers. I mean, Duke Ellington was a very, very modern composer who was also influenced by the same composers that I'm playing for you. Are you all aware of his jazz arrangement of the Nutcracker? Yeah, Ellington did that. Unbelievable. I really believe that if Tchaikovsky were alive to hear that, he'd been like, thank you. That's incredible. I mean, that reorchestration, that's a true reimagining that blew my mind when I first heard that in high school. That was incredible. So Duke Ellington was also a very, very modern person who knew all these composers and the folk music from his own country. So he had all kinds of influences going on in his music as well. So I see him as like a contemporary modern composer, if that makes sense. Yeah, so yes, and I mean, like, I've got all kinds of influences. Like, you know, I grew up listening to Earth, Wind & Fire, so there's a lot of Motown stuff in my head that, you know, studio musician stuff that really, you know, really affects my writing as well. So there's lots that goes on in different musicians and artists and how we express ourselves and what we're influenced by. So I appreciate you bringing that up. That's, yes. I think it's really cool you're hearing that. I do that all the time. I hear parallels that somebody else will be like, what do you know? And so, but that's the beauty of art, is that once it gets out into your ears, it reprocesses and it becomes your own. Yes, do you have a question?
I'm just waking up to how important speech and music are.
Mm-hmm.
As the Creator called creation with speech and music,
Mm-hmm.
we can now recreate what we are calling,
Yes.
what we wish to bring.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And, you know, being an artist, I think we're recreating what the Creator gave us. I mean, we're just constantly re-expressing the life that we live. And that's why art is never going to run out. It's just going to go on forever, you know, because we keep doing the same thing, because we're still the same people that we were tens of thousands of years ago. It's like we're still as brilliant and beautiful and well. And so we're going to continue to innovate and make really, really beautiful creative expression. So I feel the support of ancestors from all over the planet. I just feel like I'm part of that stream or that fabric of expression. And so I get really excited about that. That's why I like listening to other musicians. I'm like, oh, wow, that came from somewhere, and this came, you know. So we all come from ancestors. You know, we're literally all the dreams of our ancestors, right? And so and they did all this work, and here we are today, you know, sharing all this kind of stuff. They'd be really proud of us for sitting here in the same room and talking about this. So this is really, I get really emotional about that, but I really appreciate you saying that. I believe we are constantly re-expressing our own creation through all kinds of art and different innovations that we do. So yeah, that's really cool. Any other questions before I go on? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, some of my academic friends go on at length about cultural appropriation.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I'm hearing from you is that that's nonsense.
You know, theft is one thing, but being human is another. Right. I am in this room with people from all kinds of backgrounds that I can't even fathom or account for. I mean, there's so much background here, right? And we are right now influencing each other. I'm definitely influencing you because I'm a guest speaker and I'm kind of the spotlight. But I'm being influenced by everybody's spirit and their vibe and any conversation I have from them. And you all come from ancient cultures. So I will take this with me when I'm composing. So am I misappropriating my experience? I don't think so. It really has to do with where your heart is and what's going on and how authentic and genuine your response is. But like, you know, let me look, I grew up with all kinds of influences. Okay, so I'll give you an example. So my mother is Manx, right? So, well, she did not grow up Irish, but for some reason, when Riverdance came out in 1994, I was just like, yeah, that's amazing. And in fact, my piece, Loach Shopala, that you saw the clan scene from, is directly inspired from Riverdance. Because Riverdance is a piece that expresses, it's different scenes that express different aspects of Irish history and culture, right? And that's what's so brilliant about it. It's like there's one piece of Ireland, there's another thing, and it's like in different times of their history, and it's absolutely brilliant. And so, you know, Michael McGlynn was like absolutely brilliant in constructing that, and Bill Whelan, the musician that composed all that music, they were also modernizing their Irish step dancing and their music, and they got criticized for that. Okay, so anyway, there's all kinds of stuff. So they were modernizing their own Irish music. It affected this Chickasaw guy, and I was like, I want to do that with Chickasaw history and culture and symphonic music. So I am absolutely appropriating. I mean, look at this beadwork that we've got. Some people are wearing beadwork. Beads aren't Aboriginal to our country, yet we're world famous for our beadwork because we stole it. Right? But I say that, you know, with tongue in cheek because we were so moved by it that it became part of our artistry. We are like some of the most famous horsemen in the world, right? Okay, and that's something we appropriated as well. So I think it just depends on intention and spirit. You know, I mean, you can tell when somebody is literally stealing your money or if they're actually influenced by you and they take your spirit along with them. I mean, like, you know, what does Stravinsky say? Great composers steal, or whatever. He says something like that. Borrow. Okay, yeah, right. So I mean, and you know, like Ravel was borrowing from jazz, and I mean, my gosh, Duke Ellington was borrowing from Ravel. I guarantee. It's like all those orchestras. There's so much like influence. I mean, it's like if you look at Puccini, you know, wrote Turandot. It's like to me one of the most brilliant operas in the world, and it's about Chinese culture, right? and it was banned in China for many years. And so this type of thing does happen, and I don't think that there's a one answer, or it's not a black and white issue. You know, it's not. I think there's nuance in that discussion. And I think if somebody can be very open and transparent about what they're doing, I think that makes a very big difference. So I'm very open about, like, I'm 100% using symphonic music to express my identity as a Chickasaw person, right? Sterling Harjo is using film. In his films, everybody's driving cars, they're speaking English, they're wearing jeans, right? It's like all these modern issues that actually translate to all people and all cultures are being expressed, and I think that's brilliant. And so, I mean, you know, Tchaikovsky borrows, he's in the second act of the Nutcracker, he's got all these homages, all those national dances that are literally an homage to his cultural neighbors. And so, and of course, in order to do that, he's imitating the Spanish music and the Spanish dance, right? And so it's like, those are really good examples of composers and artists that do that. Martha Graham did the same thing. I mean, oh my gosh, she totally ripped from Bronislava Nijinsky in her modern choreography, a Russian, but that was a great influence. And also from Greek mythology, you know, she was all borrowing from that as well, and then absolutely revolutionized modern dance, but it was in a way that it was for humans, right? Very open, very transparent about what she was doing. She was really open about what was influencing her. And her set designer was a Japanese set designer, I believe, as well. I forget the name of that set designer. I'm sorry. It's such an exciting topic. But to me, I feel like I'm a person who is really enjoying this cultural candy shop. And I get to look and explore and be influenced and project. I'm very happy about what I do, and so that's what I'm hoping is I'm projecting joy and pride and, you know, strength through the art that I'm doing. So yes, go ahead.
What relationship do you have, if any, with local or regional indigenous groups, and have the Pacific Northwest groups had any influence on your artistic?
Oh, so you mean up here, from Washington and Oregon? Yeah. In fact, I've actually not composed works. There's a Salish piece. Okay, so Swill Canum is a really good friend of mine. He's a Salish guy from the area. And so he's actually narrated some of my pieces. And in my piece, Moonstrike, there's a Salish work in there. It's one of the stories that we're telling. And so a little bit, but not too much in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, so I have a lot of focus in a lot of Oklahoma tribes because that's where I'm from. And so I've done work with other tribes as well, depending on what they've wanted me to do. And so there's been some like that, but a lot of it has been very Oklahoma focused. Yeah. So, all right. I'm gonna show you some more things if that's okay, and play you some more music. Is that all right? Yes. But keep them coming. This is great. Okay. So did we lose the signal? No, we didn't. Okay. So just a little bit more about my parents. This is my dad back in college. And then that's Dad being sworn into the Oklahoma Historical Society board, so he was part of that. My dad's like a big history buff, and so I'm just really grateful for that. And then this is a little imagery from back in the day. This is our seal of the Chickasaw Nation. And so for those of you who are not aware, we have 575 federally recognized tribes in the United States, and all of us have our own unique constitution that runs in tandem with the United States Constitution. So we are all citizens of our nation. So I'm a citizen of the Chickasaw Nation, and I'm a citizen of the United States. So, and that's why my dad is like such an important figure, because he's the author of our current Chickasaw Constitution. And then this is our old housing and stuff. But that raised corn silo is Impichchaachaaha. That's my family's name. Our house names are named after kind of functional things. And so it's a high corn crib. It's a raised corn silo where you store your veggies, and then you grease the poles so the raccoons and the squirrels do not get in. So that's like some of the imagery from back in the day. We had thatched huts, and that's how our cities were built. This is my mother, Patricia, that Karen will remember. And so that was Mom also at graduating from OU, and this is when she was dancing, way younger than I am now. And so, but Mom was an absolutely beautiful dancer. And this is, so the Manx people are from the Isle of Man, and this is our national flag from the Isle of Man. And so that's kicking off independence from Britain, Scotland, and Ireland. So I like that. It's got a rebel thing. So one thing that's really cool is that the Manx people are also going through a very similar circumstance. Their population is the same as Chickasaws, around 80,000, 85,000. And they are also experiencing a lot of cultural revival with their language and their dances and their Manx dialect. It's really, really cool. There's a Manx music festival every spring as well. And so that's something I plan on taking my son to at some time. This is my grandmother, Foshi, which means bird. And grandmother she's an original enrollee on our tribal rolls back in the day when we became a state. And she was a graduate of the Chilocco Indian School. And I mean, I just love this picture. She's so beautiful. But this was taken in 1928. That was her high school graduation, and that was she and I at one of my concerts in Oklahoma City. So I miss my grandmother very, very much, and she's a really, really important person in my life. And speaking of important people in my life, this is my son Hiloha. Hiloha's name means thunder in the Chickasaw language. Sorry, and I'm really proud of this kid. He's 12 years old, and he's a really, really great ballet dancer. And one dancer who's really taken him under his wing is a man named Jock Soto, who was one of Balanchine's dancers as well. Jock is Navajo, and so he just received a Jock Soto scholarship, and Jock has become like a really important mentor for him. So, but yeah, Hiloha's really crushing it. He's doing a good job, and I'm really proud of him. I miss him when I travel. It's hard to go. And this is Hiloha and I performing together at the Kennedy Center last year. So I'm just so, oh man, these pictures are killing me. I'm just really, really grateful to have this little guy in my life. He's a real joy. So I'd like to play you a little bit more music, if that's okay. How are we doing on time, by the way? I can go forever. I'm a talker. What time is it? It's 10 to 11? Okay, so did we start at 10? Okay, so we're okay. Okay, I think we're all right. Okay, so, all right, so I'm going to play you an example that's going to give you kind of an idea of what we're going to be listening to on Thursday night. So on Thursday night, we're listening to a new work of mine called the American Indian Symphony, and it's a work that's sung in 6 different Oklahoma tribal languages from 6 very different cultures. And so they sing in Wichita, Potawatomi, Modoc, Chickasaw, Cheyenne, and Apache. And so, and this is a work that is kind of like my Tchaikovsky homage to my cultural neighbors. And so I just am celebrating the people that I know in Oklahoma that are from those different tribal cultures. And so you'll be hearing the chorus totally crush it. They're absolutely amazing. And so they'll be singing in those 6 different languages. And so this piece was very much inspired by our 250th anniversary coming up. And so this is my celebration homage to America and American Indians. And so you'll hear that on Thursday. But just before that, in the beginning of the season, I premiered my opera called Loksi Shali, which means shell shaker, or actually Loksi is turtle and Shali is to carry. And so our women are the ones that actually, they wrap their legs in turtle rattles and they keep the percussion going in our stomp dancing. So their role is really, really critical, and that's tiring. You got 20 pounds on each leg of shells, and so, but stomp dancing is a really big deal in Oklahoma. And so that's our dancing. And so we're a shell shaking culture. A lot of the woodlands, eastern woodlands of the United States, have a shell-shaking culture in common. So there's a lot of kinship in that culturally, with a lot of eastern woodland tribes. And so anyway, so I created an opera entitled Shell Shaker, and this story. Okay, and then these were some of our original leads in that. And so Caitlin is Cherokee. Kirsten is Muskogee, and she'll be performing on Thursday, and Mark Billy is Choctaw, so they were some of our leads. But we have an explosion of American Indian classical musicians right now. Lots of singers. It's really cool, and so they're coming up in the fine arts. A lot of people ask me, so why is classical music so late on this? Because we've got authors, choreographers, playwrights, filmmakers, all the painters. And there's a really good Comanche friend of mine who said, music is always late. It's always the last. You know who's first is fashion. Fashion is always like right on the forefront. That's what people trade as fashion. And then music always, I don't know, for some reason it's always late. So that's why that was his explanation. So that's why, but we've actually got a big wave of American Indian classical musicians coming up. It's really quite amazing. So I'll tell you the story, and then I'm going to play you a little kind of a summary of some of the music in this so you can see what's going on with the language. But so we have an origin story of our shell shaking. And so back in the day, we had a major migration between the 2 brothers, Choctaw and Chickasaw. So that's where the Choctaw and the Chickasaw people come from. And then as we migrated from the west out into the woodlands of Mississippi and crossed the Mississippi River, which was a big crossing. And so then the Choctaws and Chickasaws split. The Choctaw took his brother south, and then the Chickasaws stayed north, and then that's when we kind of divided. But we're the same people, same language, same culture. And so, so this takes place back when we had just arrived and everything's in chaos. And this is one of the versions of our shell-shaking story. It's a hero story, and I love it because it fits right into the Joseph Campbell mode of the hero with 1,000 faces. And so here's a young Chickasaw girl named Luxie, which is our word for turtle. And she's been given that name by her parents because it's a name of power and honor, because the turtle is old and wise, but she doesn't feel that way because she's a teenager, and no teenager likes their name. Well, not all of them. And of course, teenagers they make fun of each other, and so her name is being made fun of by the other kids, and so they're in chaos because they're trying to find their new place. They don't know their new culture yet. They don't know their new land yet. And so she's had a vision, and she explodes out into the community and says, I've seen something that's really important, but it's just too busy. Nobody's paying attention to her. She's trying to make friends, and they're rejecting her. They're saying, you're Luxie, you're slow, and they're making fun of her. And there's another boy who sees her potential and is just very quiet about it. And so, but she's talking to her parents, and her parents are saying, no, your name is a name of honor. It's beautiful. And her grandmother says, you need to talk to the river. The river will tell you what you need to do and to help you out on this journey. And so she talks to her dad, and her dad's like, grandmother's right, you need to go. And he gives her this loving embrace and sends her to the river. And the river says, it's time for you to leave your people for 4 years right now. You're going to the forest, and that's where you will learn everything. And so she goes to the forest. And she's there for several days, is lost, and she bumps into something. And there's an old turtle on the ground. And she's like, and they start kind of bantering because they're surprised. And she starts making fun of the old turtle, that he's old and slow. And he's like, why are you doing this? And then so finally she realizes, I'm doing the exact same thing that happened to me. So there's her first awareness. And he says, you know what? You were supposed to come to me. I was told about you. I'm supposed to teach you everything about living in the forest. So they become instant friends, and he introduces her to all the animals, which become our animal clans. And so she just becomes part of the forest. Well, back in the community, the young boy is becoming a spiritual leader. His name is Hiloha, of course. I named him after my son, because you have to have. And so anyway, so he's keeping things at bay spiritually. He's saying she's going to return, and it's an important return. And so she's out there. Well, it turns out 4 years has gone by in a blink of an eye. And so one evening, as she's singing the old turtle to sleep, because she sings him to sleep every night, she has a vision that the grandmother turtle has taken him to his ancestors, and she wakes up and it's true. And so she's sad, but the grandmother has left her her final gift. It's time for her to go home. And it was time for him to go to his people in the clouds. And so she takes the shell shakers, and she's got all of her new cultural knowledge, and there's Hiloha having a stomp dance waiting for her, and they welcome her, and she brings the shell shaking to her people. And so that's the end of the story. And I love it because it's just, yes. And so, and they're in love, and it's great. I think it's really, really cool. So anyway, so I'm going to play you a little bit of Shell Shaker, but this is what's happening. At the beginning, the community's talking, and she bursts out, and she's got this news, and so now she's talking to her mom and her grandmother and her dad about her troubles and Hiloha, so she's trying to figure this out. So. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but this did not time out here. Let's try this again. Here we go. There we go. Okay, that's the. So there's actually there were visuals here for some reason not coming through. So you just had to listen to the music because it was all the cast in the concert performance. But so that was her first part of her journey. She's talking to her dad. That was her dad sending her off to the river. You've got to go, and it's like a really passionate moment. Earlier, that was her mom telling her name is very beautiful. And these are all just absolutely full of Chickasaw melodies. These are all of our folk tunes all over the place. And so I'm just really, really proud to be able to do something like that. You know, my ancestors walked 800 miles in mud to relocate to Oklahoma so that I could compose operas about them. And I'm very, very grateful to be able to do that. And I see everybody on this planet as the same. There's 8 billion people on this planet. There's 8 billion ways that we all got here, and it's through our ancestors. And so we are their success right here, living right amongst each other. And so it's just really important that we help each other out with all that. I think it's great to kind of deliver that message. But I just feel that when I'm writing this music. You can tell I'm very romantic about my feelings, about my culture, my heritage, and where I come from. And again, I'm like thinking about Karen. It's like how does she see the 17-year-old Jerod in comparison? I just think about it. It's really, really kind of a cool thing. So I'll play you some more stuff from my own students. But again, I wanted to take some questions. If you got any questions real quick. Yes, go ahead.
Wondering about shells.
Mm-hmm.
This composition.
Yes, they come at the end. There's a big stomp dance at the end. Yeah, so I leave it for the end. Because that's when she comes back, she brings the shells, and so there's a whole stomp dancing number at the very, very end. Yes, go ahead.
I love how intact you are with your wholeness and your individuality and also just your inheritance. I wonder if you had a crisis moment or two along the way where it wasn't quite as intact.
Well, I think you're speaking a human language right there. That's part of the story, isn't it? She's in a crisis. She's like, she doesn't know, she's not feeling a part of the community. She doesn't know where she stands. And it turns out that she's a very, very important part of her community. You know, I had a conversation. Okay, so, there's a little bit of backstory. So my mother, Patricia, was the person who commissioned me for my very first work. And my mother was teaching at the University of Wyoming in Laramie, and she did original ballets with her students there, and she wanted to do an original work that was relevant to Indian country. So she consulted with her native colleagues in the area and came up with a ballet that had stories from the Wyoming area called Winter Moons. And so I remember her putting this together. I grew up in all her rehearsals and everything. I grew up, you know, she was rehearsing Romeo and Juliet and Firebird and Rite of Spring. And, you know, I was a total theater brat, so I grew up in all that stuff. And so I remember her putting that together. And then she got done. I was finishing my piano degree at Northwestern because I was to be a concert pianist. And so Mom said, great, you're going to be the composer. So I was like, oh my God. So my mother hired me to be the composer for the Winter Moons Ballet. So I did that, and I didn't know what I was doing. Like I did, but I didn't. You know, I grew up with all this, I was around ballets all the time, and so it was a natural part of me. But you know, in a really beautiful way, my mother was asking me to be all of who I am at the exact same time. And that had never occurred to me, that all that could come together like that. And so it's really, really beautiful. Well, we had an actor come in who was the narrator for the storytelling, Rodney Grant, who was in Dances with Wolves. He played the character Wind in His Hair, the character who did not like Kevin Costner at first, and then they became friends at the end. And he's got that scene where he's like yelling from the mountaintop, "You'll always be my friend." Anyway, that's Rodney. And so he came in and he accepted the narrator job. And this guy came in like thunder and lightning, and he was like, Jerod, you are going to be an American Indian Symphonic composer. You've got to do this. And I was like, wow. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I just started my piano degree at the Cleveland Institute of Music, and I was like, and so anyway, so he just was on it. This man just did it. And so I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, what am I gonna, I want a mission. I need a mission for myself. And so I was like, you know what? Lewis Ballard did it, Bartók did it. I'm gonna do this. And so I'm gonna focus on American Indian classical music. So I went and talked to the composition teacher, and I said, I'd really like to do this. And he said, you know, I don't like double majors because piano and composition takes a lot of time. And I said, we can do this one of two ways. I said, you can either accept me as a student and we do it right, or I'm going to compose anyway. And so he said, that's a good, I was really, I had a lot of nerve back in the days. So anyway, but so I was thinking all that through and what my mission was going to be. And so I told my family I was to be a Chickasaw classical composer. I had a really important conversation with my dad's sister, my Aunt Anne, because I was like, I don't know if what I'm doing has any relevance to Indian country or anywhere in history. And I said, I feel weird and I'm not really sure. And she goes, oh, honey, Jerod. She said in her beautiful Southern accent, she said, Jerod, there are as many ways to be an Indian as there are Indians. And I was like, my God. Oh, I miss Anne. That did it. And she was absolutely right. And so, but the thing is, look, she fueled me to say that to everybody else. There's 8 billion people on this planet. There's 8 billion ways to be a person. And we're all born beautiful, brilliant, and well. And so it's up to us to tap into the superpowers that we were given. I didn't have any, like I said, I was like, what am I doing? Is it a waste of everybody's time? I have no idea. But now I teach kids all over the country composition and I show them their superpowers. And I'm able to do that. I'm very, very blessed to do that. So the answer is yes. It was a very, very confusing time for me when I was putting all that together. And I've fortunately been doing that now for 35 years. And so I'm capable of saying this with a lot more confidence than when I was 23. That's for sure. Yes, so I appreciate that question. So yes, go ahead.
Yes, you referred earlier to the voluntary migration of the Chickasaw and Choctaw.
Yeah.
But later, or just now, you referred to
Another migration, yes.
a forcible relocation.
Yes. So we negotiated our relocation back in the 1830s, and we allotted all the lands back then, parsed them out, sold them, and then we moved to Oklahoma, and then reallotted our lands back there. And so so that was a political migration. And so, but our original migration was because something was going wrong back then as well. And there's a lot of speculation on exactly what the story is. It's a few thousand years old. So we don't know all the details, but we do know that we migrated from the west somehow. And if you trace the artwork around the Gulf Coast, then you'll see a lot of artistic similarities from the Yucatan all the way into Florida. It's really, and also boats went across the Gulf all the time. Just, it's incredible. So there's a lot of evidence that there's a lot of relationship in that whole area. It's really, really quite remarkable. And we lean into that. It's like if you look at all of our old petroglyphs, there's a lot of Yucatan in there. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of Mayan stuff that's going on there. So it's pretty cool. Yes.
I asked the question
Yeah.
is that Native Americans seem to have a unique relationship to the land.
Mm-hmm.
And one Native American elder explained this to me in this way. He said, you have to remember that we didn't own land, we were owned by the land.
Mm-hmm.
So that this forced migration or relocation must have been a terrible
Well,
tragedy.
of course, it is for anybody. Anybody who's moved out of a place that's their home is not easy. You know, when I went back to the homelands with my grandmother back in the 90s, we made several trips back there. And I mean, she showed me I literally was walking, I knew exactly the plots of land that my ancestors lived on. And my dad told me, he said, Jerod, he's like, when you go back, you're going to understand why it was so difficult to leave. And we have all kinds of poetry and literature about the removal and the trees. I mean, the nature, I mean, those are trees and those rivers are unbelievable. And so the nature is very powerful from where we come. And we still have a lot of connection to the homelands as well. I don't know an ancient culture that does not have that tie globally. All of us come from land originally, and all of us have lots of ancient connection to original homelands. And so we can all relate to that. And I find that as a beautiful unifying power of resonance that we all share. And so I see it as a positive discussion to have, is that we all come from original lands and we've all moved and migrated on some level. It's been going on forever. So we can all relate to each other in a very loving way, in a very understanding and human way on that front. So it doesn't exclude anybody. I think that experience is universally human. I really do. So I try to be a positive potato about that and just be like, you know what, yes, that's our history, and there's a lot of unification in that, and we're still here, right? So we move on and we make really great things out of it. That's my job, is to make my ancestors proud and to make their work worth it, right? So they did all that work. I don't have to do that. I get to do this. I mean, you know, I'm wearing a really nice suit. I mean, just because they did their work, you know. So I'm really grateful for that. So that's all good. Yes, you had a question. I'm sorry.
I have a question about the shells.
Yes.
I think of Oklahoma as not having particular access to the sea, and
Oh, yeah, these are turtle shells. Yeah. So this is it's turtle shells. Yeah. So they're bundles of turtle rattles and turtle shells around their legs. Okay. So here, let me share. Wait, hang on. I got all kinds of stuff that I'd like to show. Okay. There's Oklahoma. There's my mom's ballet. Okay. Sorry. Where is it? Oh, there's some of my students. Okay. Let's see. Where'd I go? Sorry, I thought I had a picture of the shell shape. Here, just a second. I know, it's like, there we go. So these are our turtle rattles, and so this is a little shell shaking video that I made. This is really worth watching. I want to show this to you. And what I did is I had the stomp dancers come in and stomp with the orchestra. So this is a little shell shaking demonstration that I think you'll enjoy. We use cans, so that, yeah. So what we'll do is, like, because the turtles are the turtle shells are delicate, when we go out and do like demonstrations at schools and perform in different places, we use cans like that. So they call them the cans. You got your cans? Yes, I got my cans. We're good. So this is a little kind of a demonstration to show you how like it goes into an orchestral thing. So this is like a stomp dance that hang on, come on, there we go. So this is our double header dance demonstrated by our Chickasaw troupe. And then it goes into the orchestral thing. That's my dad.
Double hitter has been brought by back with 2 leaders. And in that 2 leaders, and why they call it Nishkabo is because the 2 men are singing. And as they sing, And the beginning of a double hitter, that those 4 yells is to awaken the Creator. So awakening the Creator, these 2 men are singing to the Creator, and everybody is answering and chanting after them, after they're singing. And the double hitters, and why they face east, the men's face east, is because they believe that is the way the Creator had came when he done his creation. So, in the double hitter, you're chanting, throwing a song back and forth to one another, and dancing in this song. The Creator is listening, and as through it, he talks through the leaders of this song and answering whatever your chant is and whatever your life is what he's doing, is answering you through it and giving you all the rights to whatever you're asking for the people. So in this, the double hitter and that song that they're telling you, and it's just the beginning of it. But your song changes in your chant. And so in your chant, that's what you do, is that you're asking for your people, for what you need for them. A great crop, a good hunting season, good rainy season, things for wealth and health among the people. And double hitters, so they come together as in 2 clans, speaking to one another, asking the Creator to awaken into your prayers. That's basically what the double hitters is.
Okay, that gives you a kind of a comprehensive idea. All right. Thank you. Oh, yeah, fine? Okay. All right, we got 5 minutes left. I hope that filled in some blanks. I'm really glad. See, that's why I love it when people ask questions, is because I can bounce around a little bit to some things. I could go on for another couple of hours. So, any other questions right now? Yes, go ahead.
Could you speak about your process of orchestrating, taking sort of two disparate music cultures and charting your path through that?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so the question is like, how do I go about using two disparate cultures? I don't think anything's disparate. I think it's all like right on par. And so, but I mean, honestly, I grew up with that example with some of these great composers, and especially these ballet composers who took cultural stories and orchestrated the heck out of them, basically. And it's like you got somebody like Bartók, who is a very similar path, classical pianist, and his early compositions sounded exactly like Franz Liszt. That was his classical hero. But then when he started transcribing the folk songs of his own people, it absolutely transformed how he, but it was like natural. It's like, boom, it just became like unbelievably Hungarian, you know? And Chin Ryung is a really good example as well. There's many other artists, I mean, people in dance, in art, and in literature who've done the same thing, where they take, you know, their basic, you know, background and they infuse that into the classical fine arts. And, you know, that's something I think is really, so another thing it's really important to me is that I read a lot of Greek literature when I was a kid as well. Joseph Campbell is somebody who's really important to me because, you know, he grew up Catholic and then became a philosopher and saw all this unity between cultures, and like that hero with 1,000 faces idea was like, that's where George Lucas got Luke Skywalker, that idea and everything. And so, but so the fine arts really came from several pieces before it kind of codified into what we know today. And I think it's a kind of a mischaracterization to call it Western fine art because its roots are really in the Middle East and Northern Africa and Eastern Europe. And it was doing all kinds of shuffling around back then because there was also old Chinese influence that was infused way back in that day as well. There was all kinds of things going on, and then finally it just kind of, you know, came into a full orchestra or ballet or that kind of thing. But it doesn't belong to like one time zone with London and Paris, you know, and it's like it belongs to a huge, I mean, the contributions to what the fine arts is now is really massive. It's a big, massive human, effort, like a conglomeration of things. So I have a lot of inspiration from that because it means we're all capable of doing that. So that's why I say I don't see that as a disparate thing, or how do you, reconcile that? There's nothing to reconcile. It's art, and we're all influenced by the things that we see. So what I do is I tap into my romantic feelings about my tribal culture. I am a total romantic. I love where I come from, I love other people, and I like expressing all of that. And I think I just really enjoy that. And I'm a very, very different artist than our Pulitzer winner, Raven Chacon, our Danae, winner. His music is entirely different, and it's supposed to be. So just because we're American Indians doesn't mean we're gonna have the same type of expression. Michael Begay is another Navajo composer who is at Peabody. He's just tearing it up. His music is entirely different than mine. But we're all just tapping in, and so, but the way we do it is very different. I mean, Raven's is incredibly electronic. That's not at all Aboriginal to our culture. And so, it's like we're just all capable of doing that. And so to me, it's just a lot of fun. I'm like, yeah. I'm like a kid in a cultural candy shop. I just love it. I really, really enjoy it. And so I have allowed myself to just be completely free and impulsive with a really, and do it well. It's like, so when I teach kids, I'm like, I don't care what style you are. I've got a lot of American Indian kids. I'm like, you know what I do? I do lots of Chickasaw music in my stuff. I'm really direct about this. You do not have to sound like Jerod Tate. It can be anything you want. It can be influenced by K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm fine with that because my job is to help you make the best art that you can. So whatever your style is, I don't care. It's the quality is the one I'm here to help you do. So that's what I want from people, to help me be good at what I'm doing. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much. It's great to get to know your work. And I'm curious, you got a string quartet tonight.
Yes.
And then a chamber choir piece tomorrow. Do you often work in smaller forms as well as the larger?
Yeah, so so I work with all kinds of ensembles. So like tonight is a string quartet that I wrote, dedicated to my Hopi and Navajo kids that I worked with back in the day, and also a really good friend of mine, James Lujan, who was a really great filmmaker. And so, but it's dedicated to Southwest Indian people, and so it's got that vibe to it. That's a string quartet called Pisachi, which is the Chickasaw word to reveal. And so that's a string quartet that I wrote back in 2013. And the piece that I wrote for Roomful of Teeth is a modern chamber choir. They're an 8-part choir. And Caroline Shaw is one of their singers. She's one of the Pulitzer people. Like, I'm around, like, why am I here? I feel like Forrest Gump. Like, what am I doing? I don't. So anyway, but Roomful of Teeth commissioned a work, and I actually get to perform with them because I have them doing shell shaking, but they want to focus on the singing. So they're like, could you play the shell shaking part? I'm like, yeah, yes, I will play. Yes, you're amazing. And so anyway, but there's a vocal piece, and it's got a lot of this folk. What you just heard is a really good precursor to what you'll hear with them. It's a lot of modernized Chickasaw folk music. And then Thursday night is the American Indian Symphony, in which you'll hear the 6 different languages. And a lot of the same type of dramas, a lot of that vibe going on, that orchestral vibe going on. So that's what's going on this week with those performances. Yes?
So you mentioned quality, and quality broadly. How do you know it?
Oh, we all just know when something's good. Duke Ellington said, if it sounds good, it is good. Peter Gabriel's a really, really favorite artist of mine. I love Peter Gabriel. I loved, let's see here, it was like a guilty pleasure of music that I listened. I listened to a lot of disco. I loved the Bee Gees when I was growing up. I had a major crush on Olivia Newton-John. I just loved that music. And so I'm a total disco 80s kid. Jackson 5 was big in my life. Very, very big in my life as a kid. So so I've got a lot of influences, but you know, that studio work that was going on with Earth, Wind & Fire, oh my gosh, the horn playing in that, the writing. Have you all seen that Russian group that does covers on YouTube of Earth, Wind & Fire and like Chicago and stuff like that? Like, I love Peter Cetera. I just love that stuff. But the writing is so good. The songwriting is amazing. Like what's that theme to Karate Kid? I forget that Peter Cetera sings. That studio work is unreal. The quality is so good. I mean, I love Taylor Swift's 1989 album. It's one of the finest studio albums I've ever heard in my life. I think it's incredible.
The breadth of all of your music doing and listening is what helps you define quality to a 12-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, have you listened to really good Persian classical music? It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So you listen to great Irish reels. They're all incredible. And you can tell when the bands are good, when they're really, really good. It's like unbelievable. And so to me, that's all the same. There's a native group called Eulalie with Pudafe and Jennifer Kreisberg and Sonny Moreno that absolutely shattered the Indian world. And back in 1994 when they came out with that album, Makchi, unbelievable. And when they came out with that album, I was like, I'm toast. I can't compose that well. They just, I'm just like, okay, it's got to be that good. It's like, that's how I have to hold my own feet to the fire and be like, you can't just be like, I'm Indian, isn't that cool? It's like, I better be good. And I need to set example for the kids that I'm representing as well. It's got to be high quality. I mean, look, we want good parents, right? We want good composers. We want to be good people. We want to be the best that we can be. And you can tell when somebody's really busting tail to be the finest person that they can be. You can tell. Yes?
Thank you for getting us back to the pride we can feel in our indigenous heritage.
Yeah.
Because I feel shame about behavior, thinking, feeling
Mm-hmm.
that my colonial ancestors brought to this land. And I can put that shame
Put it away. Put it away.
that
Yes. There's no room for shame. Shame didn't do anybody any good. Shame is no good. I mean, am I ashamed of my Manx mother? Absolutely not. She absolutely formed who I am, and I'm very grateful for all the gifts that my mother gave me, and I'm very proud of her. And so I'm a mixed blood person myself, and my son feels the same way. He's very proud of all the things that he is. We are here right now. This is our relationships. This is where we make our ancestors proud. Everybody has a new chance every single generation. And so I choose to lead it with love. That's what I want to do. That's what I was taught by both of my parents, and that's the answer. So to love each other is the answer, and to love who we are right now, this moment. This is where the answer is. And this is how we honor where we came from. Yes?
Yeah, and this is actually a language question.
Uh-huh.
You refer to American Indians, the Indian tribes, etc. I think we've all been kind of trained to say Native
Yeah.
supposed to say Indian.
Yeah, it just depends on who you talk to. I mean, I grew up saying Indian because that's old school. A lot of Indians say that to each other. I mean, you can say Native American, American Indian. Remember, it's like you can say the word love in a very hateful way, right? You can say, I love you. Really? It's like, or you can say, I love you so much. And it's like, and you give a hug. And so language really has to do with what heart is speaking that language. Is the way that's how I define anything. So I'm not offended, I'm not personally offended really by anything. And so, I mean, that's fine. I want to connect with people's hearts and connect on a level of love and relationship. And so as long as we're connecting in a really, really beautiful relationship level, then I'm perfectly fine. Yes, I think that's all great. Those are words we can always, discuss, but I don't have any particular, like it's got to be this or that. Yes, okay, sorry, one last question. I'm getting this, but one last question. Go ahead.
Am I correct that the stomp dance, or the shell shake and the stomp dances, they're participatory art. The goal of the experience is to be in it, to be experiencing communal spirit.
Yeah, they're community dances. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you feel a conflict? Do you feel a sense of conflict when you're taking that and adapting it, or bringing it into a performance art?
Mm-hmm. I don't feel conflict because I'm very conscientious about what I'm doing. So I mean, this is my own people I'm representing. And so I'm not going to do, there's certain melodies I don't include, there's certain things I don't include. And so I'm very judicious about what I'm expressing because I'm acting as a kind of an ambassador for my own tribe, and I want to be respectful to my own people. And when I'm working with other tribes as well, I'm very close to the people that I'm working with, and so I'm very thoughtful about what I do. And so sometimes it's like, if it doesn't feel right, I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. There's plenty of other ways that I can express myself artistically. I don't have to do it like this. And so if something doesn't feel right, if I got an ick on, if I'm making myself ick, then that's not good. So it's like, all right, we'll just leave that. So I just kind of take one thing at a time, and I trust my inside compass about what feels right. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, I've got to let you all go. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. Yay.